This is how to use some of the quiz settings in order to perhaps deter students from cheating or seeking help from their peers in some way. So I'm going to turn editing on in my Sioux Falls training course. Come down here to add an activity or resource. I'm going to add a quiz. And I'm going to call this a training quiz. And this is where you put your instructions, if you have any. It might be useful if you're running it as a revision quiz. Timing. So you can open the quiz on a particular day and close it on a particular day, but still only allow students perhaps 50 minutes within that period. That is one way of controlling the settings. You can control it completely to just give them an hour within these settings, or your 50 minutes within these settings. This is quite a useful button. I tend to use open attempts are submitted automatically. So if students run out of time, their attempts will automatically be submitted. Saves a lot of messing around afterwards. I tend not to use the submission grace period. The grade, attempts allowed, unlimited for revision. If it's an exam, just one attempt. Question layout, I tend to go for all questions on one page because then they can see them all and move around quite easily. And a free navigation method. You might want sequential. Question behavior. If you've got lots of multiple choice, then yes, shuffle within questions. But remember, if you've got questions where A and B might be correct, then it's a fixed order because your A's and B's will move around if you shuffle. How questions behave. Deferred feedback, that's for normal exam type quizzes where perhaps they matter. If you're using revision quizzes, interactive with multiple tries means that you can allow students to redo within an attempt, which is particularly useful if you're using questions with wildcards for numerical type questions. Review options. I don't usually let them see all the marks immediately afterwards. I wait until the quiz is closed if it's a weighted quiz. The appearance, don't do anything with that. Extra restrictions, don't do anything with that. This is another way that you can restrict access. So you can prevent access. So that's another way that you can restrict access, but you need to make sure that matches up with your availability settings above. So save and display. So you've created the quiz, but no questions yet. So edit quiz, and we can add some questions, add from a question bank. Now I know that I've already got some questions in here. So my diagnostic quiz questions here. If you look at these questions, I've given them these numbers here, so that if I click question, it will put them into order. Sometimes they turn up not in order. Okay, so it's turned it around the other way now. 16 down to 1. Let's go back to ascending. If I click the first 4 questions, I can add them to the quiz. Okay, you can see some of these are a bit complicated questions. I've given them a higher weighting. That happened when I was building the questions. If I go add here, I can add a random question. Now I have another question category here that's got 4 questions in it. If I select that category, I can select a random question or even 2 random questions from this category of 4. So I can add 2 random questions, and that means that Moodle will select 2 questions from that category. And that can be really useful because it will deter students from trying to communicate with each other and copy each other's marks. We look at the maximum grade. It defaults to 10. I like to put it out of 100 because that makes more sense to me. You can shuffle the questions, but usually my questions go from easy to difficult, or they are in categories or sections of different subjects, so I tend to leave them in the order that I want them. Go to repaginate, just check unlimited questions per page and go. lost my 100 for some reason. Let's put that there and then save. So then we can go back to the training quiz and preview the quiz now. And there are 4 questions that I put in, and numbers 5 and 6 are random selections from that category. And that can be a really useful tool to use when you're setting up quizzes, especially if you've had to move quizzes or exam papers from paper to online.